like, oh wow, this is something that's so cool and I'm going to do this. You need to do what you feel is your passion, and you need to do what you feel is good for you. Well, I lost my skis and my backpack was ripped off from the rocks, but still, I was like, oh geez, that was lucky. Nothing is wrong with me. A lot of accidents happen because people do one thing one day and then they go to the same place next day and then they feel like, oh, I know this. Anything in life is not that cool without the other people to share it with. I mean, how fun can you have just going alone if you can't share it? And just suddenly, he died, and my knee was hurting, and everything just like... It's not just only about skiing, it's about general things in life. Because you have to trust yourself that once I drop in, my body will know what I need to do.
I am Tommy and this is Surfer of Life. Today's guest is Paul Siljama, who's an entrepreneur and a skier and has a strong connection to the nature. Welcome, Paul, to Surfer of Life.
Thank you very much.
How is the nature treating you right now when it's pitch dark and rainy and kind of sad weather here in Finland?
Oh, it's actually, well, I thought about it. I just came back from a trip. I was down in Portugal for 10 days and it was sunny and I tried to be barefoot as much as I could. And it's sort of a little bit, I have to say it's sort of getting worse and worse every year, this weather, feeling it. And I remember, like, before there's even snow, but now it's sort of warm outside and it's it's the beginning of December soon, like in 2 days. So I don't know, it's kind of, it's nice when you know that you can plan a trip or plan to go skiing somewhere or do a trip, then it's bearable.
Is that your survival mechanism during the fall here in Finland? For the listeners also who are not from Finland, it's really this time of the year, it's really dark and usually it's wet and dark and you can't really see anything. And it's in the morning it's pitch black and after maybe 3:30 it's dark again. So daylight, it's not a long period of time. So you escaped to Portugal surfing, or what did you do there?
Yeah, we surfed. Like I was there with visiting with a friend. She's living in a van, and so we stayed in her van for a week and surfed every day and traveled around eating fish. It was really nice.
How were the waves?
The waves were good. Like they got pretty big, but still we managed to surf nearly every day, and I took some beatings in the end, but that's okay. I'm still here, alive.
How is it surfing? Because to be honest, I've only tried it a couple of times and I sucked at it, to be honest. But I never tried bigger waves and I've always been curious about like when you go under the water, it's kind of like a windmill or whatever you go there. How can you survive from there? How to get back to the surf?
It's never as bad as it looks like, I think. It's always... I remember the first time I was surfing and it was like 12 years ago. I tried it the first time with the small board. I didn't have any instructor. I was there with friends who knew how to surf, and I came back. I was like, it was a reef, like with rocks. So I was all bloody in my knees, and I thought that like, fuck, this is it. This is how it's supposed to be. And it's super hard in the beginning, and I'm sort of proud of myself for sticking to it, like wanting to learn, because it's a whole process. I lived in France before, and I spent some part of the summers on the French coast just learning how to surf, and every time a little progress, and that what keeps you going back, I think, too.
I understand that I only tried it a couple of times, and kind of when you were able to hop on the board just a couple of times, you felt like, wow, and I want to get back. So I guess it keeps you hooked.
Yeah,
you can always be better.
You can always be better, yeah.
And what do you think about this strong connection to the nature also when you are on the wave and you kind of feel the board only underneath you, barefoot? What's your opinion about that?
Well, I think you feel the connection just sitting on your board and being outside and being at sea, you know, you feel pretty small and it gives you kind of this, nothing else matters. Your world shrinks into this one little, it shrinks so much. Like you need to be super focused on what's happening around you. You need to be really connected to what's going on. You need to see everything. You need to feel the waves. You need to feel the water, how it streams, the currents, what other people are doing. And for like surfing is anyway, like you have to be in the good spot. You need to be in the correct spot. You need to paddle for the right wave. Everything needs to be like really aligned, and this requires your focus 100%. And I think that's what makes you feel so connected, because you're there and the only thing that exists at that moment is you in the water. And it gives you a lot of it gives me a lot of strength, and it's like meditation somehow.
How do you stay focused? Is it the connection with the nature that you are there, you feel small, or does it happen automatically, or do you have some sort of methods or breathing techniques or whatever?
No, I think it comes automatically, especially for surfing. You paddle out and it comes it forces you to stay in the moment. It forces you that way. So it's an easy way to meditation, I think. It's for like slight ADHD person like me. It forces me to stay there.
Sounds good. Good. I have to get back on the board one day myself too. But traveling is no new thing for you, nothing new for you, and you actually lived abroad since you were a little kid. You lived in London, right?
Yeah, that's what I did. I think. I moved to London when I was a kid because my dad got a job there. I started school in a Swedish-speaking school, and I think I know a lot of people who travel, and some people that want to stay at home and don't travel that much, and I guess those people that travel, they at a certain age of like being a kid, like around 6 and 10 years old, or 4 and 10 years old, you if you travel a lot at that time, I think that sort of triggers it for you. It's not a big issue to travel around afterwards. I like my friend in Portugal. She's been traveling around. She moved to the US as a kid, and then she came back to Sweden, and for her it's no big thing to just like get a car and drive down to Portugal, or spend the summer in the States and work there. It's like that's something I think you learn as a kid.
Yeah. World becomes smaller when you used to travel and meet different cultures, I guess, as a young kid also already.
Yeah, exactly.
But what about you lived in London? It's a big city. I just came from London some weeks back, and how on earth you become a skier in London?
Oh, well, I actually only lived there for 4 years, but I skied before. I skied a lot before as a kid. I started off when I was 4 years old with my parents. I guess it's, your parents bring you to skiing or to take you out. You wouldn't yourself maybe start at that age, but when we lived there, I didn't ski that much, of course, but we did a trip to the Alps every year with my dad and my sister, and I guess I progressed, and after I came back, and I continued to explore skiing when I came back, and then I skied in the small hills in Finland. I don't know. I mean, maybe I started it a little bit later, with my committing to it. I remember the time when I committed to skiing. I was a lot older. It was when I got semi-sponsored and started doing the Freeride World Qualifying Tour, which started up in 2007, 2008. Yeah. That's where I decided I want to sort of commit more to it and try to make it more like my life.
But you surf, so did you start surfing later? You said 12 years ago. So.
Yeah, I did my
because you're on skis and then you're on surfboard, so that's different then. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I started surfing just on a trip with friends in 2004. I guess that's 13 years ago, 12 years ago. I didn't surf that much. I'm not a very good surfer, but it's something that I enjoy doing. And there's been summers when I didn't surf at all, but it's like, although I've been surfing a long time, it's not that I surf that much, you know, but it's something that I just like really enjoy. That's something I wanted to put my time on whenever I could.
At some point you moved to French Alps, Grenoble, right?
Yeah.
Did it happen at that moment that you actually stayed up in the mountains, up in the Alps, that you started feeling the connection between you and the mountains?
Well, I think it happened before that. When I was a kid, I said I went to the Alps and we skied there, and I was actually in Chamonix in the beginning of the 90s and the end of the 80s, like first time with my parents, in high school we did a trip to Chamonix, like a longer trip to Chamonix with friends, and that's when I was like, oh wow, this is something that's so cool and I want to do this. Like I looked up to all the guys, like there was all these cool skiers and seemed like a good community to be part of, and that's what kind of brought me more connected to, like, I wanted to learn more about the mountains. And I was studying at that time at Aalto University Technology, and it's super easy to apply for this program and then study abroad for a year. And I knew Chamonix from before, and Grenoble had a sort of a university that kind of correlated to my studies in a way. So I applied for there, and then I spent a lot of time in Chamonix when I was in Grenoble. That was 2005. Yeah. And that's when I sort of started knowing more, learned to know more people, and yeah, I guess.
Was that free riding, free skiing your instant passion, or did you do tricks or anything else before that?
Yeah, I wasn't very good at tricks, never. I just I learned to ski when I was a kid, but then I progressed, I think, at Ruka ski resort, because we had a place there and I was there as a teenager a lot, and I just loved to ski the trees as fast as I could. And I think that was the thing. And I tried the jumps and I was never really good. And then I remember we were in Norway with some friends. Once we got a driving license. We were 18. So we drove this shitty car to Oppdal, which didn't have the fuel indicator was broken, and it was in the middle of the night, and my friend, oh, by the way, the fuel indicator is broken, but I didn't want to tell you because otherwise I wouldn't have known if you wanted to come or something like that. It was quite funny, but we went to Norway, and then they had this free ride, sort of a thing going on. I think Norway has been doing this for a very long time. Like, they have a very long tradition of this, and I watched these guys, and I was like, oh shit, that's what I want to do. I remember that, sort of that moment. That's kind of the thing that I thought was really cool. And from there it progressed. And I guess in Chamonix, when I came to Chamonix, it's more like mountaineering skiing. So that sort of, I started with that then when I was there.
Okay. So that's the point you started climbing already up to the mountains and riding the free ski routes without any lifts. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, from Chamonix.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that sort of taught me how to ski the mountains. Of course, yeah. A lot of people there.
What about the climbing itself? Do you like that climbing part also? I guess it's pretty heavy to go up.
Well, you learn to like it. I think it's not that, just hiking up is good. It's a good workout, and you feel strong and good afterwards. I think it's sometimes it can be frustrating the first hour or so, but then anyway. And sometimes I felt in Sham I've been really scared climbing these steep coulees or these steep faces. I've been really scared, but once you put your skis on, then it's all good really over time.
But what about you? Be a couple of times in France, but somewhere between you were also in Trondheim, Norway, right?
Yeah, exactly. I spent that year in Grenoble, and I was I was in Finland for half a year or something like that, and actually I got really interested in all this studying like ecology, sustainability, and all the environmental aspects of, like, I've always been sort of passionate about learning too, like university. I always had sort of a two me, like the skiing and the sporting me, and then the studying me. I want to sort of educate myself, and I find it interesting. And I was in Finland for like a year or something, and I saw this program in Trondheim in Norway about industrial ecology, which was sort of new at that time, and I was like, Norway, and that seems like a perfect place. I want to try to live there. Like, I want to try because it has a little bit of mountains and it has a good education, and it's easy sort of for me to just, go. It's easy to move to Norway because it's all the Scandinavia and you don't need all the French paperwork. I was kind of frustrated about that. It's another story, which is kind of long, but so I applied for this for a year in Trondheim. I thought to stay there afterwards, but I stayed there and studied and skied for a year. Yeah, exactly. It was good.
Was that the point you started competing also in freeriding?
Yes, that was actually the point where before that I got a little sponsor, and then and the year before that I started. They had this Norwegian Cup, which I wanted to do as well. Actually, I got a little bit injured in the end of the season, so I didn't apply. But yeah, exactly. That's what's the year when the free ride world qualifying started, and I pushed myself to those competitions. So I think I did like 2 or 3 competitions that year. Traveled around and was studying at the same time, and yeah, I guess. Yeah, exactly. That's when I started, and then after Norway, the funny thing is, I started working for this company. I was there doing an internship, and then they had the possibility for me to work from home. They gave me this. So after Norway, I was just like, well, I got a job, and it kind of works out funny. Pretty good. I work from home, and now I can spend time in the office. So I decided to move to Chamonix after the year in Norway, and sort of my studies was put on a little bit of hold, but that's when I did compete, and that's what that year after Norway I really focused on trying to become a better competition skier and doing more photos and whatnot, being in the hub.
How did you like the competitions? If you compare it to just for free riding and be by yourself, without any expectations or competitions?
The competitions are super nerve-wracking at first. Like the first ones, I was super nervous and ended up going so fast I crashed and ate shit a lot of times. It's kind of intimidating, but the thing is that you learn to ski so much. I think it teaches you as a skier to become a stronger, better skier. And it makes you focus on the line. It makes you focus on what you do and reading lines. And it makes you so much better, I think. So that was one of the big reason why I did it. And then another reason was the people. It was really, I got some really good friends because we all did moved around Europe every weekend. There was another comp in Austria, and then there was a comp in France and in Spain and everything. And went to Slovakia and Slovenia and all that. So it was so fun with these. Sort of the same people came, and there's 2 things, I think. It was never really so much the competition. When you did well, you felt like there's nothing else that beats this feeling. But when you did worse, you got so pissed off. But yeah, I guess, I don't know. I think it's a good lesson, and if you, it's good for. I would recommend doing a few comps, I guess, now too, for people who wanna start free riding or start skiing for real, because it teaches you, really.
it sounds like there was a really strong community around that competition, and even though you were competing against each other, was it like that you were all buddies, like you said, and just kind of hoping also that all the other people are successful? Or was it hidden that I want to beat this guy, I want to be the champion?
Yeah, a little bit, but then a little bit as well what you said is about the buddy thing. And I don't know how it is today. I mean, it developed a lot. The tour, the qualifying tour has become very different. These kids, I think, well, what it's like, the level has gone up so much. Like the good guys are really, really super good. And then I guess the middle level is sort of what it used to be. But when it started, you know, it's always the same. It's a small community, so everybody's sort of friends and becomes friends because it's just this DIY, you know, organizing. So yeah, like, of course, I think we were all sort of very serious in that when the competition was and all that, but then in the afternoon or evenings, we're all friends. But you always had these groups. You had the French and the Austrians and I was Finnish, and there was another Finnish guy, but we were sort of, we weren't a group. We were just two people, so we hanged out with whoever.
Makes you connected.
Yeah, you need to, yeah, exactly. You need to be connected.
I've asked this before already from other skiers, but I'm curious about them. I'll always be wondering about the lines, that how you can actually imagine the line, because I guess in the competition you just have to come down. There's no stopping. Like you said, you were just going too fast and you were crashing, but you have to kind of know the line from the bottom. And if you go up, it looks totally different. So how is it possible to learn that thing, that you know where to go, where to ski from up there?
That's experience. That's the only thing that you need is it's like surfing. You need to be there so much that it becomes intuitive. You need to, sometimes, like in certain comps, I would remember one last one, which I did in Spain, and I came up and I saw that, oh, that's me. That's so, like, that's what I want to do. Like, it was kind of scary and it had a double drop and everything. The snow was pretty hard, but I was like, I don't need to, you know, I knew instantly in 5 seconds where I wanted to go. And then when you go up, it looks a bit different, but then you spend a couple of minutes, you spend half an hour usually on top or something, and you sort of visualize you walk a little bit, see, and then you remember that rock, and then you have a picture, but that's something you just need to, I guess if you're doing a comp for the first time, you always end up messing up your line. I think so. Yeah, you rarely like find the right spot if it's not a super easy venue, but that's what happened.
You told me it was nerve-wracking. How did you cope with that? What did you do before you dropped in? You said you were nervous a little bit. Did you have some methods or something you did before for the preparation?
Well, I learned maybe it was good to like get the sort of before. Usually when people get, there's always, you have a number and then the one person before you and then there's a couple of persons. So what you do is like sort of move around first, like do like a drill, sort of like a run a little bit. And then when there's like 4 or 5 persons before you, you just chill. You try to take it chill and you try to forget. You remember your line. You need to, you know where you have to go. But you try to not to think of it, because you try not to think about every like turn and all that, because you have to know that your body is capable of doing, like, you chosen a line and you committed to it, and there's no matter what anybody else does, because you have to sort of forget about your line for a little bit. You need just to, because you have to trust yourself that once I drop in, my body will know what I need to do. And just before, I guess I did some breathing exercises a lot. That's what I started doing, like breathe really deeply and yeah.
You think basic level of like basic ground level skills that you know you're capable of turning, and then this helps you out in the competition, that you can trust your body.
Yeah, but that just, you need to ski a lot and you need to be certain that you just need to ski a lot that season, I think, if you just drop in without any training. Maybe if you're Janni Nygård, then you can do it. But normally for me, I need to just ski a lot and then feel confident in myself. And that's what helps. And then when you drop in, that nervousness, it goes away after that first turn. So you just need to put that little first turn, that little something in the beginning, so you feel okay and you feel relaxed and you just go.
What do you think about the competitions? You told me that it actually made you a better skier. What do you think about in actual life itself? You think you are more self-confident after that, being competing and, developing yourself as a person?
I think I'm a lot more chill. I think it taught me how to handle my emotions, or maybe to just be more relaxed in stressful situations. I try not to, or I don't take much stress in situations. If there's something like, I think I'm pretty good at dealing with accidents and all that. Like if there's something suddenly happening, then I can deal with it rationally rather than panic. And I think it taught me a lot of that. And well, skiing in general taught me a lot about being humble and respecting nature. And wanting to do something. That's something, but that's maybe different from the emotional sides.
You're not the only one from free skiers who talk about the nature, so it really feels like that you have a strong connection between the skiing part and the nature, and you are free riders. So, and there are a lot of risks also involved, I guess, when you go and climb up. So what are the things that you need to consider and be cautious when you start climbing up and planning your route and your line down?
What are the things? I mean, I think everything. You need to know what you're doing. You need to stay high. You need to not being avalanche terrain. You need to think a lot about the conditions and the people you're with. It's a lot of psychology. A lot of stupid things happen when you're tired. A lot of stupid things happen when you think you know where you are. Sort of, and then just the mountains and I guess the sea too. It can be really friendly. It can be really powerful and bring you down. And you need to sort of know this, and it's good to like a lot of this is as well. I would say is intuition. You consider the avalanche course and get all the data, but then when you're out there, it's like looking at the line from the picture and going up, and then being, oh, where's my line? I don't understand where I'm supposed to go. Like it looks totally different outside there than it was here. So what you can, I guess, do is dig pits and assess the snow quality, assess if it's gonna slide or not. But a lot of these things are always like if you're a better skier or a snowboarder, if you know your body, if you're just better at it, then a lot of this it's more. I think you are safer as well, like in that way, that you know what to do when something goes wrong, and always have a sort of a plan B. That if something goes wrong, then what do you need to do? Like. And don't put yourself into risk for a very long time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How far have you pushed yourself? Have you been going over the risk limit while skiing?
Yeah, I guess I have a couple of times. I get more cautious now. But I remember this one incident in Chamonix where we skied the south face of Brevant from the top. And I know that you're not supposed to go there when it's a sunny day and it's after 12 o'clock because it's south facing, snow starts to get heavy and pretty sketchy. But it was sort of 1 o'clock. I don't remember the time, but it was 1 o'clock and we went there and the snow was really shitty and heavy. And it's hard to climb back up, after you're committed to a line, you can't, it's difficult to climb back up. But I was in a pretty bad wet slide and like it caught me it caught me. I did a turn and then I did another turn underneath my slough, and then it just accumulated. The snow accumulated, started moving me down, and I lost control. And it was a stupid mistake, and it took me down over some rocks and stuff, and the bad thing was that it ended in a 200-meter cliff, which ended in the forest. And I knew this. I sort of knew it when I was in the slide, and I thought that, okay, this is it. Like, shit, this is it. It's like a nightmare, but you can't, which I still remember that feeling. It's like a nightmare and you can't wake up. And then by some miracle, the angle of the slope is so where I was, because there's a little spiny section, and then there's rocks, like there's rocks on each side, and then if you go straight off, you fall off that cliff. But if you go where you normally ski, you go down and then you go a little bit left in one of these chutes to take you down to a big bowl, which is safe. And the slope was kind of angled where I was in that slide. The slope was angled to the left. So the snow took me, and it took me left. It took me to one of these little chutes, which brought me into the safe bowl. And that's where I sort of stopped, and I lost my skis and my backpack was ripped off from the rocks, but still I was like, oh geez, that was lucky, and nothing was wrong with me.
How were the feelings after that?
Well, you kind of in shock, and then I actually skied down, and then after that I felt really bad, and I went to the hospital and get an x-ray of my chest, and it was really painful. I didn't break anything, but I was kind of in pain for a couple of days after. But I guess I'm still oh, I don't know, this Finnish man, fuck this, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna still, next day I don't care. But it's not like that. I mean, the feelings, I think they come later, and then it can come months later, and then you realize, and then you go back, your head goes back to that space where you were. And I still after so many, I don't know, it's been 7 to 9, 8 years, and I still remember that pretty clearly what happened on that day. So your mind sort of goes back, and then you have these nightmares sometimes.
You think you learned anything from that? Coincidence? Was there a lesson to learn?
Well, the lesson, I guess, that's one part of the lesson. I guess, as stupid as it sounds, maybe before I felt sort of invincible, nothing's gonna happen to me. And now today I feel it can happen to me. I can die just doing this. It doesn't even have to be that, because it's not that, that there was no tracks or nobody went there, because everybody's been skiing it all the time. But then that place, and it's not a new place for me. So that can even happen in places which are really familiar, and where you maybe skied a lap before, and you go again and feel sort of safe, but then it takes you. And I guess it made me more cautious, and it made me think of what can happen. Everything can happen all the time.
Is this part of free skiing, this excitement that you actually don't really know?
That you don't really know. Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's a sort of. I think about this a lot. Yeah, I guess there's a certain need in humans to feel this certainty, the certainty that you have food, that you know what's going to happen tomorrow. But there's always a need for this little uncertainty. And I guess for it varies from people to people. That maybe I'm more of a guy that values the uncertainty. That's higher up on my needs list than the certainty. So that's exactly, and free riding is a lot about just skiing shitty snow and skiing the conditions. And it's so, and what people usually, they come into this sport, or they ski, or they do, and then usually they come somewhere and they complain about the conditions. But then again, that's what skiing is. That's it's 90% bad snow and bad conditions. and then 10% good. Maybe it's for somebody else but in general, that's like, if you sum it all up, it's most of the time
so it's not powder.
No, it's
every
not.
time.
It's like surfing, it's like, surfing is like 1% standing on the board, and then 90% paddling, and then 8% just don't know where the fuck you are. So it's, or maybe 2% standing. I don't know. If you take that time, it's a lot of paddling. It's pretty much, it's not as bad, but skiing, yeah. If you sort of want powder every day and you're going to complain if there's no like perfect snow, then why not go to a tennis hall and play? It's always the same.
So you think it's more like an adventure than just the skiing part?
Maybe as an adventure too. The funny thing about skiing, it can be whatever you want it to be, right? It can be an adventure in the mountains. It can be an adventure in your mind. If you go to a scary place or something, it can be an adventure, or it can be fun, just like doing stuff with your body, and skiing conditions, you can always find something to jump off, something to, you need to play with that nature. And I think it's a lot about that, like finding stuff to do in nature, being connected to it in that way.
What is the difference? Because a lot of people also do free skiing and free boarding and just go outside the slopes, but of course most of the people, they still stay on the slope. So actually, I think we have those reasons already here, but if I just ask you, why do you go free skiing? Why do you stay on the slope?
Why don't I stay on the slope? Yeah. Or the normal slope, you mean?
Yeah, normal slope, yeah.
Why don't I stay?
Made slope, yeah.
Well, I ski on the made slope, but maybe that has something to do with my, there's just more interesting stuff to do in what nature provides, like all the small little hits you can take or the shapes it has. And there's a beauty in finding the line in that natural terrain. And skiing a slope, yeah, you can practice your technique, but sometimes you feel really inspired looking at a picture or seeing a place which has a lot of funny features, and you're like, oh, there's a line there, or there's a line there for me, or there's a line, that's, you don't have that on piste skiing. You don't have this inspiration, which you can look at, and then you can be like, oh, just, this looks something that would be fun to do. I want to do it. And then if you even perform it, and even if the snow is perfect and the conditions are right, then it's like, that's perfect, but it's rarely like that. But sometimes I guess that's what keeps me going back, having this perfect spine to shred and never really finding it, but always like, oh, next this trip, maybe I'll find it,
Well, is it more your inner feelings, or is it also part of that you can tell your bodies that, hey, I took that line and kind of feel proud about it? And is there this sort of not a competition, but do you try to find the better lines compared to the other skiers, or is there anything like that involved?
A little bit. I mean, of course, competitiveness is kind of a thing for me, and I guess a lot of other people, although maybe some people don't admit it, but it's not about the better line or it's what is better for me. I maybe used to think so when I was younger and I started competing, that I need to stick the same line as this dude or that girl, because then I will be as good. But then when you realize that you have a certain strength and you know your weakness, and then you focus on what could be good for me. It's like I said earlier, if you go and look at something, and then you can find out, oh, that's me, that's so me doing that. And then another person with a different skiing background is like, oh, that seems stupid, that seems boring, or that seems totally crazy, you're just going to crash. And you will go something, but, and he will find, or she will find another line to ski. So it's about finding your own preference, finding your strength and then applying that. It's a lot about that, but it's true. Like, you feel maybe better when you kind of stick the better, or I don't know, when you do it with more speed or a little bit higher air than the other ones, of course. But skiing is, or anything in life is not that cool without the other people to share it with. I mean, how fun can you have just going alone if you can't share it? There's like a limit to how much, you can enjoy. It's more like training. If you go alone, then you train for something. But then to actually feel that enjoyment, I think you need these other people to share it with. Like-minded, good people. Not the wrong kind.
Yeah. What about the feeling? Is there anything to beat that feeling when you find a sort of a perfect line and you can just write down and enjoy? Is there anywhere near that you can give me that expression, that how you feel when you're on your skis and going down and you feel
and
great?
You feel.
Yeah. Or how do you feel?
Yeah, I feel it feels great. I mean, that's I feel that's where you feel the most alive and the most connection and the most focused in your moment. I mean, all this talk about meditation and being super involved in the unit in the moment. It's that's what it is. That's it's not, people don't talk about that stuff for nothing, it has a meaning, and it has a meaning for me, just to be super connected to and focused on just the moment. And that's perfect. That's like, and once you hit that good line, you're satisfied. It brings you, after you come down and you have your buddies or you have your friends, there's not much better.
You think it makes a difference because when you're on piste and there are a lot of people skiing around and then you are by yourself, so you feel more meditative or anything like that? You think there's a difference?
Yeah, I guess as well as another, we're reading about this people's needs and recently about why we do what we do. But there's a certain you feel a bit significant. Maybe it's stupid, but you have a sort of a need to feel significant, and when you can go someplace, it's not just only about skiing. It's about general things in life. You go someplace and you find your own way, you find your own line, you know your strength, and you know what you're capable of doing. You do it, and you're sort of on the edge. You know that this is maybe the maximum I can perform, and you do it well, and that's so good because you feel like you have taken something and done it yourself. You're creating something yourself, and you feel that makes you feel like significant because you want to feel different you want to feel connected to your group, to your buddies, but also you need to feel like special. You need to feel significant in front of, or for yourself and for the others. And I think that's the main difference.
Well, that's very interesting. That you actually find your own line and you feel that you're able to achieve things. That's very interesting. We've been talking about the nature already here a lot, and tell me about Unite for POW.
Unite for POW?
Yeah.
Protect Our Winters. It's a group which promotes sustainability in winter sports. I've been a member there for 2 years. What can I say? It's a group of people who do like charity work, and we do events, and I guess like how I see it is brings people together and focus on what we can do for the environment with little small things. It's been kind of fun. It started off from the States, from a famous snowboarder called Jeremy Jones, who maybe, I don't know, I would be a bit cynical, but maybe they cut his heli budget.
Okay.
Or something, and he doesn't get any money for helicopters anymore, and then he's like, oh, well, I'm just gonna, hike and promote this hiking thing. And no, I'm just kidding. You can cut that out. No, but it's like, well, skiing is a pretty intense sport for the environment, and when you see who does it, it's well, it's it's pretty rich people, people with money who spend more, who have disposable income, who need to travel a lot, and I guess protect our winters is it takes a stand to that. Like it says that maybe there's another way of doing this. Maybe we don't have to use that much energy. Maybe we can ski and snowboard and enjoy ourselves with a little bit less burden on our precious planet.
Okay. And the plan is also to save the snow, I guess.
To save the snow.
Yeah. Bring back the snow that's been disappearing, but at least there's a lot of talk about it. What do you think we're talking about snow, and we live in Finland? It should be like a winter country, but especially down south here in Helsinki, there's not so snowy winters anymore. But occasionally when there's a lot of snow, and I hear a lot of people just complaining about the snow. So
that there's too much snow?
Yeah, and about the winter itself. Yeah. So should we just try to figure out them some sports or whatever, just put them on the skis so that they would enjoy the big part of their life?
People, I guess they need to feel that significant need again to complain or something. Yeah. I know a lot of people who just are very good complainers. It's easy to complain. I think a lot of this darkness brings a lot of tiredness in people, and they're super tired, so it's just like complaining, and always like putting that negative energy into something. Oh, there's too little snow, there's too much snow. I don't know. It's just it's not maybe people supposed to live here. Maybe it's not, it's just bring back the snow. I think people are happier with snow. It's more light, but maybe not.
You are also writing a blog in Kamu. Tell me about that.
In Kamu, sometimes I write the blog for Kamu, and then I write another blog for what you call it, Huippu Freeride magazine. I wrote it, and then for the Protect Our Winters, and this blog campaign this summer. So we wrote a few articles. Blog writing, I would like to see something. I mean, like, do people really want to hear about your adventure or doing some big line or doing a ski descent, which is sort of irrelevant? I don't know. I think what's good about this Protect Our Winters thing is that it takes the skiers and it makes them focus about something else, something which is more relevant, which is like talking more about feelings of people and how the world works, and the views that what I have on this perspective. And maybe that's gonna change. Maybe we should,
Are those your topics at the moment in the blogs?
Well, I haven't written for my last writing. My last blog entry was about education, for how important I see education for Protect Our Winters. But I guess for Kamu, it's been a while since I wrote, but those have been mostly like little summaries, my feelings, my thoughts when doing a certain trip, like going somewhere, and what I took away from it, how I feel, what my thoughts are. Trying to write it more in that style rather than what I was actually doing. I think it's more interesting.
You think it's important to bring out your feelings and understand them yourself, to just realize about yourself more and be more present?
Yeah, I feel the need for that. I do analyze a lot myself, and I analyze other people, and it's just something that I do. And yes, I think you need to do that as growing as a person, and which is super important. You need to grow. I think you need to analyze yourself and your actions and think about where I am, where I'm going, where I want to be. And this is something that you need to I think everybody needs to do. It's a basic need for a person or for a human to do this. You're either growing or then you're declining. You're not, you don't reach a certain platform and stay there. You're either growing or then you're sort of dying. That's horrible, but
Yeah. But you're an entrepreneur. is that the way of living for you, that you can actually be your own boss and just be yourself like in skiing?
Maybe, yes. I don't know. Yeah. Well, entrepreneur. Yeah, I wrote that. It's kind of like a high flying thing. I became partner in our little engineering company, because I didn't want to work for a big corporation. I don't want my life to evolve around a job. I rather do this. I get more freedom. I can make my own thing. I can make my own decision. I'm CEO of that company since this summer, and it's been very tough. It definitely taught me a lot, which is great. But it's been tough. It's not been fun. But it teaches you so much. I think being this. To doing your own thing, and it gives you the sort of freedom. Always talk about a life and work balance and how that's supposed to be, and I've been trying that for so long, and now I'm thinking maybe I should focus more on the life work or integration. I don't know. I'm sort of in the stage of internal revolution, as you may say.
Okay.
Maybe I'm always, but now I think that I need to do this thing, and then I've done my lesson and learn and do something else afterwards.
What about the engineering work, and is there any similarities that when you feel like when you're skiing and you feel like, this was successful line, and you get any same sort of feelings when you do something good as an engineer or as an entrepreneur when you're working?
Well, the engineering stuff I used to just do because of why people work. It's because of money. And then I used to work for this company because I had the freedom for me to take whenever I wanted, free and work from home and abroad. But maybe now that I've been more of a managing position, it's a lot of decision making, a lot of fast decision making, and it's a lot of risk. Sort of to take this, because you have all these people around you, and then whatever you do, somebody's going to be unsatisfied and sort of complain to you. But then maybe that's something the skiing actually, or this outdoor sport taught me, that doesn't matter so much. Like somebody complains or I make a wrong decision. It's not, it doesn't matter so much. And I guess that's, it's been fun. I don't remember your question earlier.
It's a perfect answer. Let's go back to the skiing a little bit then. You already mentioned about the injuries. So you've been injured as a skier.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I injured my knees. Last winter I injured my shoulder a little bit. It was all right now. Yes, I remember it was a while ago. I did my ACL and my menisc from my right knee. I landed on was skiing park in Ruka early season, and I landed on the knuckle. On the knuckle, it started snowing, and I still wanted to do one more run, and the speed wasn't the same, so I landed on the knuckle on my knee. And it was like I had all season planned, like these trips, and now I couldn't do anything. So I was like. It was.
How heavy is it for the head?
That was really heavy. That was really heavy. I was that was the time when I was like, invincible. I can do that. No, nothing's gonna happen to me. And then I can't do nothing. And then I really planned this winter. I wanted it to be so great. I had it all planned, and then New Year's Eve, I was really bad. I was really bad all winter. I tried to study, which I really could focus on, sort of. I put my energy into that, so. But still, not like all the hard times you have, it teaches you. It teaches your head, and it teaches you how to become a better. Because you're always having fun. You don't learn anything, I feel.
Injuries are also a big part of the sport, but there's also some worst case scenarios. And you actually came in 2013. I understood that you came back to Helsinki from the mountains and something bad happened over there. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I moved to Chamonix in 2009, and then I did comps before, and then I super focused on the comps for 3 years. 3 years and did and traveled around a lot. And it was a good life. Like, I worked a little bit from home, I skied every day, trained every day, and then the weekends I pushed it, and then I spent like times I was in Canada, I was in Iceland, I was doing all these great like trips like all winter long. I was in Argentina. And then the last year I had some personal like problems, and then my knee, I hurt my knee a little bit. And it was like nothing really bad, but it never sort of the whole season. It was something just not right with it. I couldn't do competitions. I could ski, but I always sort of in the end of the day it was hurting and I didn't want to compete. I thought, no, maybe next month it's going to be better, but it never was. And then my roommate, we actually had moved separate for like a couple of weeks earlier. He moved in with his girlfriend, and then we were skiing on Friday in Chamonix, and then I went to München to this ISPO, and then like on Sunday I was going to the bar and I got this phone call that he died in an avalanche, and we had some like really big plans with him too, like we went to Iceland the year before and had a great thing and did a video of it, and then we were planning to go to Kazakhstan, I think, and then just suddenly he died, and my knee was hurting and everything just like it was really shitty. I remember it was really sad. It was really sad. All the friends were there. We had a big celebration of his life, and his girlfriend was pretty devastated, of course. And his family came up, and all his like friends and everything. It was pretty bad, but I remember after that, and that was in February, and then I remember myself in April. I just wanted the season to stop. Like I couldn't. I just didn't want to. I skied, but I wasn't having any fun. I was just like, ugh.
So it affected you as a skier also?
Yeah, it affected
you
me
as a person.
I think that came later. The deaths. Then the next year, another friend died, and then the next year, another friend died. I had a couple of friends. That was like a 3-year cycle of maybe like 5 friends dying, like 3 good friends, and then a couple of others, which like not so close, but anyway. I became a little bit numb to the whole thing, which is kind of weird. You have that first death, and then you have the second and the third. It's just like, well.
How do you get back up in the mountains after that? Your friends are dying all over. Almost feels like that. It feels heavy to even listen to it. Then, but is it part of that you have to just accept it when you're doing this sport, because it happens a lot?
Yeah, I guess you have to accept it, and you have to know yourself and the condition. You get more safe, and you realize that this can happen sort of, like I said earlier, this can happen to me anywhere. Like, another friend was like, a couple of years after he died in a stupid thing in the woods in the beginning of the season in Verbier, just like where everybody skis all the time. And he was just like caught in an avalanche and pushed to a tree, and he just died. And that can happen can happen anywhere, and life could be, you never know how long you have to live. But you need to go up there still and enjoy it and feel that you have to know yourself, and it's part of the whole thing. It's like the risk is never separate from, I don't know how to explain it, but I think it's the risk is like included in the whole sport. That's what sort of makes it good too. And like that's what it's skiing is as much about the people you meet with the same sort of mentality as you, and that's what makes it beautiful, and that's why you keep on doing it. And then it's not so black and white with the risks or not. But I guess this is something that you just need to try to be really subjective. You need to trust your intuition super hard, and you need to just feel every moment as a new one. Like a lot of accidents happen because people do one thing one day and then they go to the same place next day and then they feel like, I know this. Like, so I'm just gonna, ski this or do that, and then these accidents happen because actually overnight the conditions changed and it's not the same thing. Although in the mind it's the same thing.
So you have to be cautious all the time and understand the snow and the conditions.
Yes, of course, yeah. You have to understand, and you have to understand that it's not the same as it was yesterday. You need to always look at the situation as it's new, as I feel you have to do in every aspect of your life. I mean, if for example, I work for this, for the company which we have, the people working are, if it's your company, it's, you're very involved in it. You think about it every day. You wake up, you go there every day. And then you're sort of your whole life and your mind involves around this thing that is in the grand scheme of things. It's significant, like not significant at all. But when you live it every day, it becomes part of you, and you start to stress. You start to see all the problems. You're not subjective anymore. You become. I mean, you're not objective anymore. You become like part of it, and you're so deep in it that you don't see for what it really is. That maybe something goes wrong, and you take super stress about it. But then that little thing that you take so much stress about, maybe that doesn't matter in the end. But you don't see it because you're so involved, and that's what happens with skiing too. Or any kind of sport. You're so involved with it, you don't see the risks anymore. Or you don't see it as like what you become.
You think it's better still to just enjoy living like you do free skiing and just enjoy it fully? And of course there are risks, but there are risks on the street also. Car can drive over you and that's it. So you think it's better to just enjoy it and have these great moments in your life, and if something happens, it's just part of the game.
Yeah, it pretty much sums it up. Like, you need to do what you feel is your passion, and you need to do what you feel is good for you. What brings you forward, it makes you grow, what makes you connected to, and you connect to people, which is important. You need to do these things, and then, if there's something happens, then it happens. But don't do stupid things, and keep your mind level, keep your life that diverse, that you see the things what they actually are, and not the good and bad in them.
You told me about it's like meditation when you're skiing. Is that your meditation, or do you do anything else? Do you do yoga, breathing techniques, or anything in your life?
That's pretty much my meditation. In Helsinki, I started, when I moved back, I started skateboarding a lot more. Skateboard a little bit, but they're so good. It's starting to be like good skate parks here, and it's been like a savior for me for the meditation, because I feel like a new person afterward. And I think that's important. I think, well, that's maybe a lesson I would teach somebody else, that have something that you can meditate on, and then, because no problem is gonna solve while you just think about it. So just step aside. Yeah, exactly. So maybe that's my meditation. But I used to do yoga. I would like to do yoga. I haven't really found the right person or the right studio to do it with here. I've been looking that hard, but I went to a few classes and it felt kind of, I don't know. It didn't feel like it was for me.
You have your own way of meditation then.
Yeah.
On a board and on the skis.
Mm.
It's been very interesting. Very, very interesting to have you here. I'm very happy that you came.
Yeah.
Came to my studio, the Surfer of Life, and it's been just awesome to talk to you. And know about your feelings up in the mountains and also around life itself. And I still have a couple more questions for you. And the first one is like, how do you see yourself in 20 years from now?
I ask that question all the time. But people, my old friends who maybe have steady jobs and work their ass off in here in Helsinki, they I see them some of them, the old friends I see a couple of times a year, maybe once a month, and then they ask me, are you still doing that skiing thing? Yeah. Well, actually I am. Why don't you ask, are you still doing that working thing? Maybe I should quit my job and do something else. I don't know. But how I see myself, I've been traveling a lot now and having different, as I said, like trying to figure out my life and work balance. But what I want is I want something more steady in a place where I can sort of move around a little bit and do the things I love to do, surrounded by people I feel connected to. And this is something I'm constantly sort of searching for, like a place or a good community to have this with. So maybe that but for me, like, in the end of things, what's important is people. Want to have my own family. I want to sort of be around good friends and all this, and people I love and want to be connected with. And that's in the end what's really important.
Have you been able to get your buddies back on the skis or on a snowboard? Because they're asking you, like, do you still ski? Because I had like almost 10 years break, and I hopped back on the board, and I will never stop before my legs probably busted or whatever, because I like it so much.
They were never really that into it. I think I actually, a couple of winters ago, some of my high school friends, which I'm better friends with actually than I was talking maybe about some old school friends, which I see. Right. But I have a couple of like friend groups, and one of them are my buddies from high school and everything, which I share a lot of my life with. It's just great. But one of them actually snowboards a lot, and he enjoys it. And last winter we spent some time in Pyhä, and his girlfriend started snowboarding, and then I was actually 2 years ago I was giving lessons to some of them, some of the others, like ski lessons. How to become a skier.
That's good. We gotta get the people back on skis and board. I think.
Yeah. Well, just be outside and enjoy the winter rather than inside. I mean,
exactly.
And it's a good thing for them, because I think it makes you take a group of people and do something together. Right? It's enjoyable for everyone.
Well, one more question. When you wake up in the morning and you think about the day coming up, what makes you happy? What makes the day joyful?
What do you mean, here or in the van?
Wherever.
And when I woke up in like I spent the week in Portugal, I woke up and my friend was like, I'm making coffee, just lay down for a bit. I'm good. We woke up in the van, and that was really nice. I was like, coffee, that's great. And then the sun, and then I don't know, and then just the day sort of opens up and it evolves. I guess I'm a little bit of this like searching person. I'm never actually satisfied, always looking for the better thing, and I guess that's the drive. But in general, I would say you never know what the day will bring. The uncertainty of what the day will bring, and that's, I guess, what it sort of at times I remember when I feel like wake up and being like, geez, it's raining. I'm still, I don't know, this work thing, and then you kind of remind yourself, well, you never know what's going to happen. I think it sort of makes you feel a little bit.
Sums it up perfectly here. Hey, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a pleasure.